kind of like the axe, where I was saying that you needed to keep your hands back from where you were cutting. If you're taking a bowl gouge and you're cutting this way, if you have your hand up here like this and you roll that into it, you're going to take a chunk out of your hand. So you need to keep your hand down below it, so when you go over it, you miss your thumbs. Even if you can turn this way, you want to be able to miss your knuckles. So when you come in here like this and you go, now I know a lot of people do this with a hook knife, and I've done it with a hook knife. I've done it with a chisel. But this is some really hard wood. This is a razor sharp chisel. Also, the other thing that you got to watch out for is when you're doing it up close like this, you run that first knuckle into that board a lot. But see, I usually carve my spoons. This is my homemade, this is my hand forged chisel that I made. And it's kind of just an experiment. It's a prototype. We'll see how it goes. It seems to be doing okay. What I normally use is this. This is a Buck Brothers gouge. And I'll usually choke up on it. And I'll go like this. And I'll sit here and work it like this. Or if I'm wanting to really get some leverage, I'll put it against my chest and I'll roll the wood up against it like this. And I can do the same thing with this one, except I'm closer to where I'm at, closer to where I'm working, you know. And the goal here is to round this out. So I have my basic roughed out shape. I'm going to round this out. And the deeper you get, the easier it begins to be to carve this, because you're no longer skipping off the surface and running somewhere else. You're down in a bowl, you can't go anywhere. So it don't stick it in your wrist. Would be a major mistake. One of these things takes, you know, it's not like a spoon that you can carve out a spoon in an hour, you know. See how thin those flakes are? You don't want to try and hog off too much wood at any given time. You want to kind of just work your way through it. But a spoon, you know, you can make it in an hour. One of these is going to take you a few hours, especially if it's burl wood like this, where the grain is crossways and every which way. It takes you a second. So this is still real sharp. I haven't dulled it at all. It just seems like some real hard wood. Once you start to get that dip going, come out here and widen it out a little bit till you get over to the edge. One thing I do is I'll come around here and I'll break this edge with a knife. I just take a knife and shave the edge, tilt it over on the corner, give me a barrier so I don't get too close to the edge. And I do that with my spoons too. It's about 1.5 inches deep now, 1 3/4 to 2 inches across. The lower, the deeper you get with it, the easier it gets to carve. Because you can get more leverage on it without having to worry about it popping out. I mean, the chisel popping out. See, I'm just going around it. I'm in my radio room here, where my ham radio gear is. I'm not sure how this video is going to turn out. But I tell you what, it carves easier when it's down deep like that. I might go out on the porch and try and get a better video. Alright, so this is my progress so far. Getting down in there. The deeper you get in the bowl, this is at least 1.5 inches, maybe 1 3/4 inches, the better it goes. If you hear the kids in the background, it's because they're outside playing. It's easier if I turn it towards myself than when I'm facing the camera. So when I'm carving, like right there, see I got a bunch of chips up. I'll carve down to the middle and then take those out. See, and I haven't done anything to the outside that I didn't do last time. But the goal here is to hollow out the center. At least the get the depth roughed out, get the size roughed out, then we can smooth it all up. But if you notice, you can take and with a spoon knife, a spoon gouge, or a I don't know what you'd call this. It's an offset. It's a crank neck bowl gouge. You can really get down in there. See, I can still get down in the bottom. Now, at a certain point, I'm not going to be able to, but I don't think I'll have a problem with the depth of this cup. I can still get down to the bottom, and I'm gonna hollow this out as big as I can. Get the sides straight up and down, or maybe even out a little bit, and round it out as best I can. And you want to get the sides as thin as you can, comfortably get them, because the thinner they are, the better it'll dry. Believe it or not, thick sides make for cracks, so it's better to this only did this for convenience. The cup is kind of small. I did a turkey tail on it, which is what I typically do on my turkey calls that I carve. I don't know if this is focusing or not, but it's probably big enough to hold a quarter cup of liquid. I'm going to obviously do some finish work, but this is good enough to use if you wanted to. I'm going to probably let it dry a little bit, then do some trim work on it, and scrape it and sand it. I've got a flat bottom on it so I can set it down on something like that. It sits good. My hand, the way I wanted this is to fit around it like that. I may end up putting a hole through it in a lanyard, I may not. But I took the reason I got a band-aid on my thumb is I took the gouge and went somewhere, and I went over it and caught it with just the corner and punched into it. And that's why you keep your hand below the edge when you're carving. But once you're down in here, this isn't a big deal to get into. See, that crank neck gouge gets in there just fine. That's probably about as deep as I could do with this particular gouge. But the gouge does good. I did refine the edge just a little bit. It's razor sharp. Obviously, it didn't slice. It poked that hole in my thumb. But anyway, it does have a little bit of a crack here where I got carried away with the axe, but that's in the lip. It doesn't actually go through to the interior. It just is in the lip, and I pried it open, forced a little bit of wood glue down in there, and pushed it back so it'll hold that splinter down. And once I get to sanding on this and I sand it all out, you probably never even know it was there. But good solid little burl wood, and I love the grain. The grain is up and down and swoops around, and then it's got some of these speckles in it. It's got a couple of places like this one here and this one here that in the right light they had that shine like some kinds of grain get. But anyway, I'm kind of curious to see how it's going to look finished and sanded. But this is my this is it for the first video. Maybe I'll come back and do a little short clip later on and show how I finished it and show myself drinking something out of it. My goal with this is to drink coffee with this. So this is about how much I drink when I'm drinking black coffee, so that's just fine for me. And I usually drink about a half a coffee cup when I'm drinking it, and if I want more, I go and refill it. But anyway, that's the finish of the Kuksa. It took me about 3.5 hours, and I'm out of practice. I haven't made a Kuksa in years, probably 5 years or better. I made 2 or 3 back about 4 or 5 years ago. I might even have a video of one up. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. That's probably one of the nicer ones that I've made. Only thing it could be is maybe a little bit bigger, but this is a good bag-sized cup. I can throw that in my backpack and drink it out of it if I was camping or something. I think it's pretty cool. I'll probably just use it on my work table.